Hey, what's going on, everybody? Steve Raiken here. Welcome to another live show. I'm super excited for today's show because we are with Matt Clark of The Amazing Selling Machine, also one of the co-founders of Amazing.com. And we're going to be talking about how to build a profitable business selling on Amazon. And you guys might have heard of Amazon. It's that website that gets, I think, a couple billion views per month. But I'm really excited because Matt has been helping I don't know anybody who's helped more people to sell millions of dollars on Amazon than Matt has and his partner. And I tell you right now, I'm super pumped up because Matt has, he just has an enormous amount of knowledge when it comes to selling on Amazon. He's able to put it out there in an easy to understand format. And today we are going to just be jam-packed with awesome information. So welcome to the show, Matt. How's it going, man?
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me. It's going good.
Awesome, man. And you mentioned before the show that you're in Austin, Texas. I'm going to be honest, I'm pretty jealous because I'm looking out the window. We have some sun, but it's probably about 40 degrees over here right now.
Yeah, that's parkas and snowshoes and everything down here if it gets that cold. But yeah, it's good now. It's been 700 degrees outside, but it's starting to be nice.
Awesome, man. Cool. Well, we got a bunch of people already in the comments section. And if you guys see me looking left, I'm looking down at my laptop. We've got Eric in the house. We got Organically Hana in the house. Thrilla Gorilla saying you are on your grind today, man. We're gonna be giving you guys some awesome information. We got Tran saying appreciate the professional advice and support. We got a Finders Keeper excited. We got James Mowry from Phoenix, Spence 16 from Pittsburgh, PA. So we have a lot of people in the comments excited about today's show. But let's dive right into it. Why don't you tell everybody, Matt, kind of who you are, what's your story, and how you got started selling on Amazon and maybe some of your results.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so it's been kind of a crazy journey. I mean, kind of started off like a lot of people. Like I was working a job. I was actually in investment banking for about 7 months outside of college. Thought it was going to be a great deal. Thought I was going to work there for a handful of years, start a business. But then after about 7 months, I was like, I got to get out of here. I was like, this is freaking horrible. I was like, there with a bunch of really smart people, like people from the best colleges. Like there was no sort of lack of ability to do business, but they were just going to sit there and complain about their jobs for the rest of their lives because that's what their dad did, that's what their family did, and that's what they're used to. And I was like, this is not why I'm here. I was just not motivated at all. And so like I basically just left, didn't really know what I was going to do. Kind of fumbled my way into selling some what are now pretty mainstream, but back then were some very high-end health supplements, some of the brands that people now are taking that, health bloggers and stuff talk about. Back then, they were typically only sold in doctors' offices. And so I was kind of bringing a lot of them online, selling them on websites, fighting with manufacturers because they didn't necessarily want their stuff sold on websites, but they liked the money coming in. So it's kind of a love-hate relationship. And then, yeah, kind of fumbled my way into selling on Amazon because Amazon was kind of beating everyone's butt in the physical product world. And yeah, so that's kind of how I ended up on Amazon.
That's super cool, man. And now there's a lot of people who watch my channel. They're selling on Amazon. They're doing anything from wholesale to buying and selling books from thrift stores, going to garage sales and flipping items, such as electronics and even clothing items and whatnot. You had mentioned supplements and whatnot. So what's your actual business model when it comes to selling on Amazon?
Yeah, so I've done a lot of different things. It's have done drop shipping where I basically don't care if people aren't familiar with that. You don't carry any inventory. You basically get an order from a customer. You send that order to a manufacturer. They send the product to the customer. So it sounds great. It sounds wonderful. Like you don't have to buy any inventory ahead of time. So you're kind of making money without spending any money. So I've done that whole model. That's kind of how I started my first business. It's how I started on Amazon. Have sold ebooks on Amazon. Have sold kind of a few real books, not really a big deal, but kind of back in the day, especially for other people. But the main model that we found to be most successful in our own businesses and in the businesses that we've helped other people build is building your own brand. I mean, the most common term is private label, though like a year ago, we kind of had to invent our own term for this because private label doesn't really capture it. So we like to call it product tuning because private labeling, most people think of that as basically just the most common example is you take a bottle of supplements and you put your own label on there. Sure, that sounds great. But for some products, it's a little bit different. Like say, for example, you go out there and you find that a good opportunity on Amazon or really anywhere else, like the model applies to anywhere else, but we tend to focus on Amazon. You find that, I'm going to sell yoga mats. But then you find out from customer feedback and you listen to customers and you see what competitors are doing, not doing, and you decide that rather than literally just putting your label on a generic yoga mat, you think that it would be better is if that yoga mat was made slightly thicker or slightly different material. Now, it doesn't mean you're going out there and you're sort of doing prototyping and doing all that sort of stuff. You're basically just saying, hey, manufacturer, make these few small tweaks whenever you get my order. And then all of a sudden you have a better product, but it's about the same amount of time as it would with quote unquote private labeling. But now you have a better product that's better for the customer. You're more differentiated. You can have higher margins and it makes the whole business work.
Wow, that's super cool right there. And you said you had gotten started. How long ago was it when you actually got started with your first private label product? How long have you actually been doing this for?
Yeah, so I kind of always have to like count backwards. So like I graduated college in 2008. I worked for 7 months. And so that put me kind of into beginning of 2009 is when I started trying to figure out how to build a business. And so about halfway through 2009, I had basically started running a business, and that was doing all drop shipping and stuff. And then so it had to have been like 2010 or so when I started doing my own private labeling, which is kind of a weird story because like I was selling this health supplement that just one of the 11,000 products I happened to be selling because I was selling through a distributor. So I had access to a bunch of products, and I was selling this product. I was like, man, this thing is just taking off. It was like a weight loss supplement. And I was at the pool out of all things at like the apartment complex I used to live at back then. And I was at the pool, and this big like jack guy just started talking. He's like, yeah, what do you do? He was there with his like wife and kid. I was telling him what I was doing. He's like, man, I can get you that product. He's like, I actually like manufacture it and I can like private label it for you. And I was like, yeah, what's it going to cost? He's like, probably like $3 each. And I was paying like $11 each for that product. I was like, holy crap, my margins will go way up. I don't have to deal with this brand hassling me, telling me what I can and cannot do. So I met my first manufacturer at the pool, and it was such a weird deal because I had an office. He'd kind of roll over in his Range Rover with like my product in the back of his car because I lived down the street from him. So it was a weird deal, but that's kind of how I got started in private labeling.
You know, a lot of people that watch my channel and follow me, again, they're doing a lot of thrifting and garage sales, and they're buying a lot of one-off items. And the issue that a lot of people have been dealing with lately is they're going to these garage sales, their thrift stores, and there's so much competition that when they're lucky enough to find an item or 2 items or even, you know, retail arbitrage items at Walmart's, Targets, they have to fight to get another item again. And one of the cool things about private label, which I'd like you to talk about, is the ability to be able to scale your business. That's the big thing I like about it, is being able to scale your business, because essentially you go to the manufacturer, right? And you could order a whole bunch of them. And then 2, you could be, you know, you were at the pool, but I mean, you could be, it's not location dependent, right? You could be anywhere in the world. Could you touch on that? Because I really want people to grasp the concept of this business and the potential.
Yeah, I mean, so like the holy grail of any business, which I'm not saying like I've done it perfectly. I tend to put in a lot of hours and that kind of thing, like a lot of business owners. But I mean, the holy grail is to be able to have your business run without you having to drive every bit of growth. And so that's really going to be hard with a lot of different models. I mean, to give you an example, like I literally just talked with one of our members who'd kind of been through a program with us earlier. It's a husband and wife couple, because they had sent me a letter. When I got back from our live event, I had this letter sitting on my desk, and they were just so thankful about the impact on their life. And like, I didn't really know their story. So I got on a call and I sort of talked with them, and their story is they basically started with like $500 and then ended up building a business that just 2 months ago in August, they finished the deal and they sold it for $4 million. And they were about, you know, I think a little less than 3 years into building their business. And so like that kind of thing is not possible unless you're actually building a business where you actually have a product that can produce repeat sales, because nobody's going to buy a business. Nobody's going to give you that kind of money if they can't predict the amount of sales you're going to get, which means it has to be consistent, which means that you need to build some sort of business that kind of facilitates all that. And so the way that we found to be really good for that is kind of owning your brand, owning your product, because then you can build up a customer base that knows you. You can build up a group of customers that can buy additional products from you. So say you build up, say the yoga mat thing, say you build this business that's selling these yoga mats, then you're like, well, you know, I can make more money selling more yoga mats, or I got these, you know, 5,000, 10,000 customers, I can sell them a yoga block. And so that's like at the very sort of grassroots level of like building this brand. And then you get that sort of system going. They're telling friends, they're referring other people. You start getting some sales channels going like Amazon. And then you have a business that's actually producing money every month, and you can start saying like, look, I can keep doing customer service, or I can step out and hire somebody. And now they're taking care of that part of your business. You sort of start chipping away things like that. And that's how people end up with a business that either kind of runs itself, or at least grows a lot bigger and allows you to do more important things than sort of the very basic level stuff that we all kind of start with in business.
That's super cool right there. There's actually a bunch of people in the comment section getting pretty excited about that. I want to shout out Tani T. Lavelle saying, wow, that was fate landing in your lap with the private label deal. Awesome. We got Deb M in the house saying, hello, hello. Let's talk about product selection because a lot of people want to get started. You know, that's the biggest thing. I've been making videos for about 5 years about eBay and Amazon and talking about all different things. And people always want to know like what to buy and what to sell. And I think one of the coolest things, Matt, about private label is there's literally an endless amount of opportunities, like endless, like millions and millions and millions of opportunities. And actually, I forgot to mention, they actually, if you go to the first link down below, raikenprofit.com/ASM1, video 1, they have a free training right now, and they're actually giving away 100 hot selling product ideas. So definitely be sure to check that out. But let's talk about product selection, because everyone's wondering like, okay, this is super cool. The scalability, live anywhere, like have your own brand, control the brand. What type of product can you sell?
Yeah, so this part's super important. Like literally I had a text message from a guy who I haven't talked to since high school, probably because he sees videos we release and stuff, and now he wants to build a business. But he was like, yeah, I want to build this business. He's like, think about selling these things on Amazon. I'm like, what kind of business? He's like, oh, a men's accessories business. And I'm like, well, there's kind of an issue, because like we don't look at it from that perspective. We don't come at it from like, I've got this idea, I want to go try to force this market. I mean, some of the biggest mistakes, honestly, that I've had in business in general, after some reflection, have been trying to what I call force the market. Meaning that like you've got something in your head, you're like, you know what, I don't care what anybody else thinks. I want this thing to work, so I'm going to push like hell. But that's a very high friction way of doing business. It's much better, and the way that we teach these things is to find out what people already want. Look at what they're already buying. Look at what they're already saying. All that information is out there, especially with things like Amazon and really any kind of business, but especially Amazon. So like the model that we teach is basically going out there and finding opportunities that are already proven and making a little bit better or capitalizing on them. Now, it doesn't mean that the market has to be completely saturated. It could be a new sort of super hot market or one that's kind of been around for a while. So the way we typically teach it, which is in that video that you just mentioned, is you go over to Amazon. And so we kind of narrow it down to a handful of categories. So we're not talking about selling apps. We're not talking about selling software or books or clothing or jewelry. It's like products that are just basic consumer products. A lot of stuff you probably have sitting around at your home or your house where you're at right now. I mean, I can see behind you, you've got one of those little trampolines back there. That could potentially be a good product. I mean, that's like a perfect example.
What about that roller in the corner? I don't know if you can see.
Yeah,
foam roller.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that sell those, but that's a perfect example, that kind of product. And so like, it could be products in the health category. I mean, sports and fitness category, like that thing, or it could be health and beauty, like supplements and beauty products, or it could be home products, automotive, just about any sort of basic consumer product. And then we're looking at products that have a few different criteria. So one is we kind of like to look at price. We don't want it to be too low, because then your profit margins are going to be too small. We don't want it to be too high, because then for the average person going out there and getting started, like say, for example, you're like, I find a great opportunity, but it's refrigerators. And every unit that you buy costs you $500. Like that can be very prohibitive to get started. So we typically recommend people start with products that are roughly between like $20 and $70. That's the selling price. So then you know that you can go out there and get that product. You can get enough inventory so you can get reviews, you can get sales going, and you can build this business without having a whole lot of money to start out with. And so that one criteria is price. And a few other things we look at is one is what's called on Amazon best sellers rank. And so this is basically the rank for every category on Amazon from 1 to sometimes hundreds of thousands, that basically number 1 is the best selling product in the category. And then say number 500 is the 500th best selling product in the category based on unit sales volume, essentially per day, but it's kind of more frequent than that. And so we want products that typically between around 500 to 5,000. That just means the product is selling well. You're not necessarily trying to dig through the top 100, top 500, because those products are usually pretty competitive. But beyond 5,000 or so, they can be sort of not enough volume there. And then like one of the last things we kind of look at, there's a few more things other than being able to private label and stuff, but the other one is reviews. Reviews are important because they're kind of a proxy for competition level. And so if you have a product, just think like a consumer. Like we're sitting here, like I'm spouting this stuff off because I've said this stuff a million times. You'll see it in video 1, but just step back and think, like, forget this sort of tricky Amazon stuff we're talking about. Just think like a consumer. Like if I was going out there and I was buying that trampoline on Amazon and I'm somebody who just launched this product, yeah. And if I go over to Amazon and I see one that has the same price, it's the same quality from what I can tell, same images, same copy, same everything. One has 1,000 reviews and one has 2 reviews. I mean, which one are you going to buy? And so like, that's why reviews are so important. So it doesn't mean that you have to have the exact same number of reviews as somebody else, but we typically steer clear of products that every single competitor has a whole lot of reviews. And for us, that's kind of over 500, over 1,000, because that just means for you to be competitive with them, like you got to get a lot of reviews, and that can cost money in inventory and all that sort of stuff. And there's plenty of opportunities. There's millions of products sold on Amazon. So you narrow all this stuff down and you find a really good opportunity.
Awesome, man. Yeah. And Matt was referring to video number 1. If you're wondering where that is, it's actually the first link in the description. And it actually goes a lot more in depth than what we're going to be able to cover today. But I had a question for you for somebody who wanted to get started with private label over at the Amazing Selling Machine. What do you guys teach in terms of, I know you mentioned the ranks and the types of products and the reviews, but what do you teach in terms of profitability per product? And I know this is somewhat of a broad question because it's going to differ based on the item, oversized, smaller item, or just different categories and whatnot. But how much profit does somebody want to make, or how much can you expect to make, maybe based on your students' results per product?
Yeah. So like the sort of common profit numbers that we see, that we've experienced ourselves, anywhere between like 30 to 50%. Depends on the product. And that's after Amazon fees, that's after product cost, shipping cost, labeling cost, and all that sort of stuff, basically to get a finished unit to Amazon and selling a finished unit, because Amazon takes a little bit of fee. You've got those other things involved. So we say 30 to 50%. So that means if you're doing 100 grand a month, you're doing $30,000 to $50,000 a month in profit. Now, there are other things, because we're talking gross profit there. So you may run a little bit of ads, which is fine. Then maybe your profit drops down to 25%. And when you start having overhead, that's another thing. But on the other hand, a lot of those costs can get smaller, which means your profit margin increases over time. So maybe you're running ads to kind of kickstart things to get sales, but that means you're getting more organic sales, which don't cost any ads. Also, the more volume you do, the better pricing you can get on products. Also, when you build a customer base, you can add on more products and sell to them with no advertising costs whatsoever. So, but yeah, kind of across the board, that's what we see.
What about in terms of like how much money you can expect to make from an item? Now, again, this is a very broad question. But you know, say there's someone out there who's watching and they end up joining the Amazing Selling Machine. They take the course. They, you know, they go to the manufacturer. They purchase their first item. They get it in. They ship it off. They get it, you know, ranked up and selling. What's an average? Like, what's a good thing to aim for? Like, you know, someone wants to launch the first product. Can they be making $1,000 a month the first? $1,000 per month with the first product, or 3,000 or 5,000? What's kind of an average? And again, I know it's kind of a broad question.
Yeah. So, I mean, the best way that we have to look at that kind of data is like that 100 products that were given away with that first video is like, we've actually pulled, now these are estimated because Amazon doesn't reveal this data, but estimated sales amounts for each one of those. And so they range anywhere from 16 grand a month or something like that, up to like 200,000+. I mean, some products on Amazon sell an insane amount of volume.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And so, but like, I mean, like we would say, like, if you get a product, like we wouldn't necessarily try to steer you into a product opportunity. Like with all the criteria that I just mentioned, we wouldn't really want you to get into a product opportunity that couldn't do anything, at least whenever you get the product kind of ramped up, at least like 10 grand a month in revenue per product. Now, ideally they do more. But that's kind of like what I would consider kind of a bare minimum. Otherwise, like you might as well just look at a different opportunity, because there's so many opportunities out there. There's no point in like, because it's at the end of the day, you're going to do a lot of the same work regardless of how much the product makes. You got to source the thing. You got to talk with supplier. You got to come up with a brand, a logo. You got to get the thing shipped. You got to provide customer service. You might as well make as much money as possible. So there's no point in doing all that work for a product that's only going to sell, you know, $2,000 a month or something like that. And then at the end of the day, you may only make like, you know, $500 a month or something. So like we want products that probably do at least 10 grand a month in revenue.
Dude, I've been in this game for a long time looking at different, online opportunities to make money. And a lot of the opportunities out there do make you money, but I have never seen such a golden opportunity as private label. It's
Yeah.
absolutely insane. For the people who are just coming on, you can take a product, you can get it from a manufacturer, put your own label on it, and sell it on a website that's getting, I want to say, is it 2 billion views per month?
Honestly, I don't
Something
know. Like
just
it's
crazy.
incredible. Like I know that yeah, I couldn't spout off that number off the top of my head. Like I see
It's
hundreds of
just
millions, but that could be something else unique. I don't know, but it's a lot. I'll put it that way. I know this year, like we've run the numbers, is that last year, 2016, they did about 130 something billion dollars in revenue. And like Q1 and Q2 are done for the year. So like you can compare that growth because it's a public company. You can compare that growth from Q1 of 2017 to Q1 of 2016, and it's like 25% increase. Same thing for Q2. If there's no reason why they wouldn't. It'd be the same kind of increase across the year because there's 2 quarters left. And that means that this year they'll probably do $170 billion in revenue. And they've been growing like this for a while, which means
all we
that,
need is a slice of that.
yeah, which means that in the next like 4 or 5 years, there's a good chance they'll be doing $300 to $400 billion a year. If you're selling on this platform, all that benefits you with how you have to do anything. So it's not a bad deal.
One of the biggest objections that I notice people have when it comes to starting a business is, the ability to actually outdo the competition, right? To be
Yeah.
able to get a slice of the pie. You guys, I want you to realize, and this isn't just hype, this is reality. This is going to be the first $1 trillion company, 130, $140 billion. Like, you don't need that much of a slice to make more than your whole entire neighborhood makes. Like, it's just insane. Like, I've been going to a lot of conferences lately, and I noticed like one of the top ways that people are making money is with private label or having their own website through Shopify. And in my opinion, I think Shopify is a lot more challenging because you have to wear all of the hats. Whereas with Amazon, you get to utilize all the traffic. But I just want everybody who's watching to realize right now, obviously it's not easy. Nothing's easy in life, but this is an opportunity that is it's just massive right now, and it's insane. So I want to ask you about a question of who is this business right for? Because on my journey over the last 5 years, from quitting my job, working at restaurants, I've been presented with a lot of different opportunities, from eBay to hitting thrift stores and garage sales and Etsy and Craigslist and just so many different opportunities, Kindle publishing. I've realized not every opportunity, although it may be very, very lucrative and profitable, it might not be right for everybody. Who's this business right for, and maybe who's this business not right for?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Like obviously, rather than sitting here be like it's right for everyone, everyone should do this. Like there are a couple things, I guess. Like one thing is that on the good side, is that this is the kind of business that like we realized this like years ago. Is that a lot of times like people have been talking a lot about internet marketing stuff and affiliate marketing and all this sort of stuff, which is fine. Like some people have done very well at it. The problem is you take your average like 45-year-old person, 50-year-old person that's not like a super technically savvy person, they're just going to be completely freaking lost regardless of what you do. It's just the nature of things. And like, but you take this kind of business and they're like, hey, I've been buying products for 40, 50 years. I know how to like do this business. It doesn't require a lot of those kind of same technical skills that kind of hold a lot of people up. So in that case, this is why this has opened the playing field for a lot of people that had not really been super successful with other businesses. On the other hand, the people that we've seen not do well with this are ones who kind of treat it as like a get rich quick thing. Like they want to go and they may be able to ramp up revenue real quick. Like they'll go in there and they'll like steal other people's products. They'll launch products on there. They'll do really bad customer service. They'll sell a poor quality product, and they really kind of try to game the system, I guess. And those people, like sometimes they've ramped up revenues numbers big, but we've also seen them fall off a cliff. And so like the people we've seen do well are people that just want to build a good, solid, long-term business, like that couple I was talking about.
I like
Great
that.
people, they had jobs. I mean, they're not sitting here doing this as a game. Like they've got 2 kids. Like they called it like Operation Bring Daddy Home because the guy was like, he was gone 4 nights a week doing some medical sales or something like that. And so they just wanted him to be at the house. Like they're not sitting here trying to like game Google or something like that. Like they want a real business. And like they've sort of got the benefit from doing that. I mean, they were making good money with the business. Then they had this sort of like life-changing financial windfall by selling the business that nobody would have bought if you were sitting there trying to game the system. But it's because it's a real good, stable business.
I'm glad you brought that up, that it's not a get rich quick scheme, because I think people get into it for the wrong reasons. And I think the people who do win, and from what I've seen, they take it nice and slow. They're consistent. They progressively learn. They progressively educate themselves and take action. And that's how you win the game, the game of life, the game of private label, the game of Amazon. So that's really, really cool. For the people who are just coming in, we're talking with Matt Clark, one of the co-founders of amazing.com, amazing selling machine. And I want to ask you, I mentioned earlier that, and I was, I've actually been going through the free videos that you've been putting out with your partner and your team, and I've been learning a ton. And you had mentioned that your students had actually, or they are actually making $150 million per month. Now, I know you have quite a bit of students. Can you pick out maybe a couple success stories that can inspire me, can inspire the people that are watching, of somebody who has gone through your program and has, had some good results, maybe change their life?
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of pick out two different extremes. So let's say, one of them that you'll see in those videos, they just have an awesome story, and they're just amazing people. Peter and Adina, they're from Romania. Peter's just one of these guys that's for years been into all the self-help stuff, Tony Robbins or Robert Kiyosaki and this kind of thing. And he's a guy who's living in Germany, I believe, but then intentionally moved back to Romania so that life was harder, because he felt like he was stuck in Germany. So he moved back there so life would be harder, so he could basically get that hunger again. And so then he ends up somehow or another finding our program. And I think he had to borrow money or use his boss's credit card or something to buy it. And then he's sort of doing this business on a bootstrap. And then fast forward today, his business does over $1 million a year if he wanted to. The numbers are kind of interesting, because if you have a business that's doing this business, what we know about multiples and profit margin, let's say that, make the numbers easy, it's a 25% profit and a multiple of 4. That means your revenue is basically the amount of money your business is worth. So if you're doing $1 million in revenue, $250,000 in profit, 4x multiple, you're back to $1 million value for your business. So he basically has built this business, and Romania is not a wealthy country by any means. He's basically owns $1 million business that he's built over just a couple years, starting literally with basically nothing. So amazing story. They're inspiring. They're building a school in Romania, all kinds of crazy stuff. And I feel like he's bringing half of the Romanians into Amazing Selling Machine. So it's kind of awesome there too.
What's crazy? I know their story as well. And the wife, I forgot what her name was, but she had to learn English. I don't know if you knew that or not, but they literally came into Amazon not speaking English. I mean, talk about persistence right there. So that's just an amazing story.
Yeah, so that's a really awesome story. Then on the other end of the spectrum, because we get people, some people are literally I've got nothing, I need to get started, I'm in debt. We've had so many people like this that start and have amazing stories. Then on the other hand, we've got people that are already successful, but they're looking for something else. So we had a guy, for example, over in California, and then I've got to know him for a little bit. And so he does extremely well, does over $1 million a month in revenue. Never done this business before. And so his whole story is he basically ran a financial options trading shop, basically, trading securities and that kind of thing over in California. And he said he had about 100 traders working for him, a sizable operation. But then some stuff happened with regulation, and they kept changing the way that what he was doing was working, and it kept tacking on so many fees that it became not profitable anymore. So they basically had to shut everything down. And so he was sitting there man, I got this, I was making $100,000 a month in income. How do I replace this? And then he comes across us, and he comes across the opportunity. So he joins, and then he's he's loving it. He's selling the most random product, which I'm not going to give his product up, but he's selling the most random product that has nothing to do with what he was doing, but he's loving it. He said he's making more money than he used to multiple times over. And he's got this business that's very sellable, very scalable. So yeah, he's somebody who's already very successful in life, but wanted something else, wanted to go further, go bigger. And yeah, we've got stories all across the spectrum.
One of the cool things about this business model is it doesn't matter where you're from, right? It doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter your experience if you're tech savvy. I actually have a friend of mine who I believe he might be 16 or 7. I don't know. He's really young. He could be 18. I don't know. He's super young, but he's going to be coming on my channel in the next couple of weeks. He's full-time, private label at such a young age. And it's insane. I must have met at least 5 or 10 kids who are 10 years younger than me who are just killing it. with Amazon. So it's really, really cool. It doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter where you're from. So that's interesting. Let me ask you, if I had to ask you, what's one thing that's really working well right now in private label for the people who are watching? If you give them one good little ninja hack, what's one thing that's working really, really well that people might not expect, or maybe just one thing that's very effective at this time with private label?
Yeah, I mean, so I'd say like one thing that is in video 3, which is basically like using a strategy to sort of launch your product to the top of Amazon. It's crazy how it works because like Amazon's kind of gone through phases. Like we've seen every side of Amazon. We've seen all the tricky stuff, and like we know people that do crazy stuff on there that we wouldn't touch with like a 10-foot pole, and like it's a very risky thing to do. So we know it all. We're sort of in this perspective where we have access to every strategy out there, and like we have to pick the ones that are going to be effective but not put your account at risk. And so some of the stuff that we're teaching like in video 3, extremely powerful. Basically, like you're using Facebook offers, because I think right now from an ad platform standpoint, like Facebook, you know, people like, I don't know how long, I guess you've probably been like following internet marketing stuff for a while. Like people used to talk about 5-cent click days of Google. I think right now is that time for Facebook ads. Like your ability to reach people and to put ads in front of them that are profitable, that are effective, is unlike, I think, anything. It's just their ad platform has grown so much, but their level of competition in terms of advertising has not grown as fast. And so like if you're using Facebook offers and you can target, say you're selling a fitness product like your foam roller back there, like you could be targeting CrossFit people. But you put an offer in front of them. And so that Facebook offer, basically giving them a coupon to go from Facebook to buy your product on Amazon, works extremely well. You combine that with a little bit of ads, you combine it with a well-optimized listing, and if you do things right, like you can have a product ranking on the first page for a very competitive keyword with basically no experience whatsoever. And it's kind of combining these big platforms, which is very unique, because the advantage of Amazon, like Shopify, I guess, is great. A lot of people do well there. Just one of the advantages with Amazon is that, like, is from a conversion standpoint, is that everyone's got their credit card on file with Amazon, so your conversion rates are off the chart. Now you got to pay them a little fee to sort of get that. Just kind of standard, any product sold on Amazon is paying Amazon a fee. That's why they have that business. But your conversion rate is off the chart. So people don't have this trust issue. They could have never heard of your brand. You give them a good coupon on a product, like they'll go to Amazon. They'll be like, sure, whatever. Like if things don't work out, like, you know, it's perfectly fine. Like I trust Amazon. So yeah, it just works like crazy.
Cool. We got a question from Norlando Castillo. What's going on, Mr. Castillo? Asking if you could give one piece of advice to someone with no experience with private label, what would it be?
I mean, I think it's that one that I kind of touched on, is like, don't try to invent an opportunity yourself. Like your best bet is to sell something that is already selling well. And the advantage with Amazon, and like I think this applies to any business, you're running a freaking local restaurant, like you should be looking at Yelp to see what other people are saying. But with Amazon, like you go out there, you look at the competition, read all their reviews, good and bad, pull out a notepad, write down what people like and don't like. And then when you go to sell your own product, do something a little better. Like a simple example, like that's when we talk about that product tuning versus private labeling, is that maybe all you do is you have better instructions on how to use it. Like if you look at some people's reviews for some products, and we've done examples like these where people will just be like basically confused in how to use the product. For some products, super easy to address. Just give them a little card with a link to a video, or give them a little booklet that has instructions.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, and so like there's simple stuff like that. Just read all the reviews, good and bad, and create a better product. At the end of the day, it's better for the consumer. It's better for Amazon. So Amazon's going to like what you're doing. And it's better for you as a business. You have more happy customers. And there is kind of a game you're playing there, is like the more happy your customers are, the more of your orders will convert into good reviews on Amazon. And if you're converting more, say, for example, like you and a competitor are both getting 100 orders a day. They're converting 1 out of 100 to a positive review. You're converting 10 out of 100 to a positive review, completely made up numbers. You're going to have 10 times more reviews in them after a certain period of time. And so like the happier your customers are, it works for everybody around. And it's obviously like the right thing to do in business. So you've got all that data in front of you, just got to use it. I mean, think about how many like products out there that are like headphones and that kind of thing that are sold by Chinese manufacturers that are complete pieces of junk because they just don't think like that. Those people aren't going to be around after very long, and they're already suffering because Amazon is such a sort of open platform with public reviews and everything else.
We got a question from Yvonne. Good to see you, Yvonne. Thanks for checking into the show. Yvonne's asking how much money to get started in this business. I know a lot of people, I don't know, they just want to know how much they have to risk and what's the potential that you have to put in to get started.
Sure. Yes. I mean, like the couple I was talking about, they started with $500. I've heard other people starting with $500. The kind of average I would say is usually a couple $1,000s. And it's mainly an inventory. It's like you're buying inventory enough to sort of get up and get selling. You're paying for product packaging. People typically at first aren't spending much on like a logo or any of that kind of thing. Design is not super expensive as long as you don't try to like go crazy with that. It's mainly your inventory and shipping cost. So we've seen people start as little as, a few $100, $500. More common is, a couple $1,000s.
Cool. Awesome. So we crossed the halfway mark about 10 minutes ago, and I'm looking at the comments. I just want to let everybody know who's coming in right now. Thank you for watching. We've got a bunch more questions, and I want to let you guys know we're here to answer any of your questions. So if you have any questions about selling on Amazon, private label, scaling your business, or any advanced strategies, be sure to ask a comment down below. There's a lot of people who are watching. If you are tuned in and you've been hearing us talking about videos, or if you heard us mention about the 100 hot products to sell on Amazon, or the rapid ranking system, how to rank your products in the top 3 spots in 5 days, it's the first link down below. Matt actually has it's a 4-part series about how to get started, how to make money on Amazon and the opportunity. So be sure to check that out. Also, if you guys are enjoying this so far, let us know in the comment section below, and be sure to hit that like button. When you hit that like button, it lets us know we're doing a good job, and also gets the video out to more and more people. And as you guys know, this channel is based around helping you guys to make more money online and bringing to you guys the various opportunities. And I think you'd agree, Matt, that there's a million different opportunities out there. There's so many opportunities right now, but I think that you guys have realized that this opportunity with Amazon is different, and it's something that we've never seen before. It's absolutely insane. So let me ask you, what's the best way for somebody to get started in this business? What are some of the options for someone to get started?
Yeah, so I mean, you've got a handful of options. Like we've had people that have gone, we typically don't say this because it doesn't necessarily help us at all, but we've had people that have taken like the free videos and they've gone out there and they've built a business, which is great. You can go out and you can kind of like, based on what you've just heard here, you can go out there and get running. You can give it a try. You're going to run into a lot of roadblocks. You're not going to know how to answer. You can try to dig around through forums and help groups and Facebook groups and all that sort of stuff. It's a
lot of noise.
Yeah, I'd be careful what you hear at some of those places because sometimes they're straight up wrong. Like we've had stuff, like we've looked up on like the seller forums for Amazon, and the answer people were giving was just completely incorrect. Like it's not true. And so there's that kind of stuff. Other stuff can get your account in trouble. So you just got to watch out. Things change on Amazon. So there's all those options. Like you can go out there and you can kind of do this thing on your own. Now we have a program that kind of walks you through how to do all this stuff. Basically from start to finish, called Amazing Selling Machine. We walk you through from ground zero experience, or maybe you even already sell on Amazon, basically how to build this business using the model that we've kind of taught to a lot of people that have been very successful from start to finish. We have a guarantee and all kinds of stuff. So if for whatever reason you're not happy, like you can get your money back. It's kind of like at this point, like we don't sit around so much trying to be like convince people that we know what we're doing. It's more, we know that it works. It's just, we try to share this stuff in a way where people aren't scared to give it a try. A lot of people don't know us and they sign up. They're like, I don't know these guys. There's a lot of crap out there at the end of the day. Like there's a lot of, like we get a lot of people like this. You'll even see it in comments on our videos and stuff. People are like, yeah, this sounds great, but I've been burned before. Because some bad person basically put something out there. They promised the moon, could have been potentially lying in the marketing or not. I don't know. And they basically, somebody buys something with all these expectations that are just not delivered in the product. So then they have this bad taste in their mouth. They still want to build a business. They still want to do all this stuff, but then they're just scared to give something else a try. So we try to remove every obstacle possible, give every possible chance to get a refund back. And so at least people give this a try. And we've seen this change a lot of lives. At the end of the day, like, you know, we've done well. Like, we don't have to like keep doing this stuff, but we come to, like, for example, our live events, which are usually separate from Amazing Selling Machine, but we'll do our live events and it just re-energizes us. Like, we have people coming up to us, oh, you changed my life. Like, we were in debt. And then other people are like, oh my God, like people are crying and all kinds of stuff. And like, that's when we're like, holy crap. Like, I think we are doing something like pretty meaningful here. So that at the end of the day is why we're sort of still in there doing this. So that's another option to kind of do all this.
Man, I'm going to circle back around, but you know, over the last 10, 12 years, man, I've been really struggling with weight loss. And I used to always try to do it on my own. And I tried to put my own diet together, do my own workouts. And I struggled for so long. And this year I just posted a picture on Instagram. I've lost 34 pounds. And you want to know the one thing that I did differently, Matt? I invested in a coach. I invested in a personal trainer, and, you know, I spent the money, I showed up, and I trusted in somebody who had already gone around and done it beforehand. And I just recently hired a life coach. And there is, you know, one of the biggest problems I see people having is they try to do everything on their own. And while all the information is in a sense out there already, it's a matter of how many mistakes are you going to make and how long is it going to take until you get things right. That could cost you. I mean, with private label, it's not hard if you don't know what you're doing to lose all your money probably instantly, right?
Yeah. I mean, you could go into the wrong product and the inventory can just kind of sit there, or you can spend your money on the wrong kind of advertising thinking that it's going to pay off, but it's not the right direction. Like, there's a lot of ways to do things wrong. You can do all this and then do something that some blogger person says is a great idea to do, and all of a sudden your account gets shut down and you still have inventory sitting there that's not doing anything. So
yeah, so it's one of those things. If you're going to get into selling on eBay or flipping bikes on Craigslist, you know, if you're going to risk 20 bucks, risk $50, I would do it on your own, because really what's the worst that could happen? But when you start getting into higher level things, whether it's real estate or you're getting into private label or wholesale, even Shopify, based on my experience, the times I succeed most, even Kindle publishing, was when I took someone else's hand and I let them lead me. And I think that's one of the best ways for people. So I would definitely consider looking into it. About your course. And by the way, for anyone who doesn't know Matt and the Amazing Selling Machine, you guys this is your 8th time launching the course. So this isn't like you just launched the course the other day and put it together on the weekend. Like, this has been around for a long time. It's been succeeding for a long time. It's been helping people for a long time. Can you talk about the structure of how it works and kind of essentially, and again, it's been closed for 6 months. It's actually opening tomorrow for, I think, what, 7 days or so?
Yeah, 7 or 8 days. Yeah.
So it's going to be a small window of opportunity, but talk about what it actually is, in a sense, if somebody was to get it. And again, there's no pressure. If you want that hand, if you want someone to take you by the hand, then I would look into it. But for someone who wanted to get into it, what does it entail?
Yes, I mean, like, the way we've kind of structured the whole thing is really to take, because we're getting a bunch of people in there, so we don't know where they're starting. Maybe you've built a business before, maybe you've never built any business before, maybe you've got a decent amount of money to invest, maybe you're kind of like running on fumes in terms of money to invest in your business. So we got all these different people starting at different places. And by the end of this program, we want every single one of them that's committed to this thing to have built a successful business. So we kind of got to take this big funnel of all these people and put them into this thing. And so, like, we do it with 4 main components. So the kind of main one, and it's all online because we don't want that to be a restriction. Maybe you live in, like, the Peter and Adina live in Romania, and you spending $2,000 on a plane ticket to go somewhere is very prohibitive and maybe not the best use of your money. Or you live right in the middle of the US. I mean, who knows? And so, like, it's all online based. And so the first component is what we call the web class, which is basically we've recorded a completely structured course that's updated all the time. Like, I was talking to some guys, some nice guys. They have an Amazon course for a different language market for German.
Oh, cool.
And I was talking with them, and like, I was like, you know, they're telling me about the course. So yeah, I don't get it. Why are people aren't signing up as much anymore? I'm like, when was the last time you updated it? And they just kind of like went silent. And I'm like, you've never updated the thing, have you? They were like, oh no. And I was like, come on now. I was like, you know, this stuff changes all the time. And so, like, with the online course, like, we're constantly updating it. Like, we don't sit here and just, you know, sit here and get comfortable. Like, we want people to get in there and be successful. That's the entire thing. And so we have to continually update it and make it better. So it's basically built over 8 modules. 1 module is released at a time that takes you all the way from setting up your Seller Central account, no matter where you're at in the world, to picking a product, to ordering samples, finding a supplier, ordering your inventory, creating your product listing, creating your packaging, your images, your photos, getting your first reviews, launching the product on Amazon, scaling your sales on Amazon, and then scaling your business. All this is basically covered in the 8 modules. And each week we have a live group coaching call for additional content.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, anything that we see popping up in the community. Also, if you have any questions, so that's a big part of it. So the web class is kind of like your framework for learning this whole thing. Then we have what we call the mentors, which we've been doing this for years. It's basically people that were members. They're very successful. They on average have all sold at least $1 million on Amazon. And they're in there to basically help everyone out on a day-to-day basis, because there's only so many of us, but we can bring on more of them. And so if you have a question, they will answer your specific question. So there's no like, that's another thing too, is like people get people in these programs and they're like, yeah, the community will just kind of support itself. Sounds good in theory, but if somebody's investing a good amount of money in this kind of thing, like we don't want to hope that the community takes over. Like we
don't want them to be stuck either.
Yeah, and then that's true. So like weird things come up. No matter how good our training is, there's going to be stuff that comes up that we didn't anticipate. So that's where the mentors will jump in there. They'll answer your question and make sure that you can work through anything. There's never a time when like you'll be stuck somewhere and we'll just be like, oh, too bad. Like we can't help you. Like that's not our mindset at all. So that's what they're there for. Then the other big piece is the what we call the private resource vault. And so because we've got such a big community of Amazon sellers, like we've worked deals with all kinds of people. We even give you the resources that we use and businesses that we've built with this model, such as freight forwarders, photographers, payment processing companies, if you live outside the US and you need that. And just about every other resource you could imagine, rather than you going having to hunt around stuff online, like, oh, who's a good photographer? We're like, here's 3 of them. We've actually used these people and given our money to. And then we also have all kinds of deals on software tools and stuff that you can use when the time comes on Amazon. And we've kind of like added all these discounts up. If you add all that stuff up, it's worth about $10,000 just for that private resource vault.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then so like the last component that we call it is basically the community. So then we've got the community so that like if you have questions, if you want to meet other people in your area, network with other sellers, any of that kind of stuff, you want to share your success. Like we have this big group of people that have all done this business, and some of them do up to $10 million a year or more actually on Amazon that have been right where you're at. So it's not like they're like, oh, you know, I don't care about these people. They've started where you're at. They've started with likely something like this, like listen to this guy they never heard of before on like a video. Then they go over to the free training series. They join ASM. So they've been through all this stuff. And so a lot of them are there to help you out. You'll meet a lot of them. So yeah, so those are kind of the main components. That the whole point of all this stuff is not to like give you a bunch of stuff to go through. It's just to get you from wherever you're at now, which we don't know until you get in, to building a successful business that ideally changes your life, allows you to quit a job, become financially free, whatever your goal is, as quickly as possible.
That's super cool right there. So thanks for sharing that information. What I want you guys to do right now, if you're excited about that, the course actually isn't even open today, so you can't get it if you wanted to. It is opening tomorrow, but go down below. It's the first link. And there's 4 free training videos plus all different types of things from Raiken, your Amazon listings, 100 hot products that sell for $35,000 each a month, just a whole bunch of cool stuff and information. Go down below that first link, put in your email, and then you can get updated when it comes out. And even if you don't want to get in the course, you can still get a whole bunch of really cool free information. One thing I want to mention, because I don't think a lot of people realize this, a lot of people who follow me, they want freedom. Like I even hear it more than money, Matt. Like, yeah, I hear people talk about money, but they want freedom, right? They want to do what they want. They want to live where they want. They want to spend time with their family. Talk about really quick how somebody can actually make money with private label without actually touching the product. And I know that sounds like really hypey and crazy, but it's so true.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like I've talked about this before. The most recent like live event is that I think we're living in a very like interesting time from like that whole perspective. It's because, you know, for the first time ever, like back in the day, people would like, the only way they knew what like a good life looks like is by like reading magazines. They see this like attractive couple with a fancy car and a fancy house, and they're like, man, like that's what a good life looks like. But then like so many researchers out there in positive psychology and everything else have studied people that have everything you could ever want. I mean, people that are billionaires, people that own islands, people that have everything you could imagine, people that are famous and all that sort of stuff. We have access to all of that sort of information now. And I think everyone's finding out that it's not like how much money you make. Like that's only going to get you so far. Now it's a good carrot to kind of dangle out there. It can open up a lot of doors for you. You can do things for other people. You can buy cool things. Like, that's all good. But at the end of the day, I think that, like, you know, having the ability to spend your time how you want is going to be more rewarding for people. And I think people are starting to see that, which is why there's a shift that people are like not quite as much interested in like exactly how much money can I make? Can I make 10 million or 1 million or 100 million or whatever? They're more like, how is this going to affect how I spend my time? All this money, but miserable. Like, you take like the world's sort of most successful corporate lawyer or something like that. They could be working, you know, 100 hours a week, completely miserable, making $10 million a year in income. Who knows? But I mean, I don't think people want that life anymore. So the way we've kind of set this business up, because it's a physical products business, like you're selling real tangible products. It's not some, you know, affiliate marketing thing where you're just putting links online and stuff. It's like you're actually selling a physical product. And so the physical product has to get from the manufacturer to Amazon and then to the customer. And so you can do this without ever actually touching anything yourself. Now, cool. We always say that, but you're going to be touching your samples. Like, you're going to find out what product you want to sell. You're going to find a manufacturer. You're going to order 3 or 4 samples. Anywhere you live, it's fine. It doesn't matter, because you want to see the product. You want to see the quality level. You want to pick the best supplier. Once that part is done, then you will not handle any boxes, any shipment, any warehousing, any of that sort of stuff if you do things right. This includes ordering products from China or the US. And so if you're ordering from the US, because it's a little simpler, so if you're ordering from the US and you're selling in the US, you're likely just going to be talking to that supplier through email or through phone. And whenever the product's ready to ship, you can log into your Amazon Seller Central account and you can print out shipping labels basically to a PDF, like you're not physically printing them out. And all you do is send those to the supplier, and they'll put those in the boxes and they'll send them to Amazon. And then later on, you can have somebody else do that part, but it's super simple. And so then the product is basically going from the supplier to Amazon, then to the customers. Amazon handles all the shipping with Fulfillment by Amazon, or FBA. So Amazon handles all the one-on-one customer shipping, which is why they have these massive warehouses with all their automation and everything. So that's how it works from like a US model. Now, and that can work whether you live in any country in the world. It's just if your supplier's in the US and you're selling in the US. Now, if your supplier is in a different country than where you're selling, which could be your suppliers in the US and you're selling in the UK, or your suppliers in China and you're selling in the US or selling in the UK or selling in Germany, Japan, wherever, then the model is basically same thing, manufacturer, get your product ready. And then in most cases, we're going to recommend you use a freight forwarder. And so in video number 2 of the series that we keep talking about, that I guess you have a link below this. So video number 2 of that series, we actually have an interview we did with one of our freight forwarders. And so you've got their contact information. You can get all that. Like, literally, you don't pay anything. Like, you can just go get that now. And so you can use that freight forwarder. And so all you do is contact the freight forwarder, be like, look, I've got this product manufactured over at this manufacturer in China. Here's their details from their Alibaba page or however you've been communicating with them. I need to get this product from here, and I need to get it to Amazon. And they'll be like, okay, I've done this, 10,000 times before. I'll contact them, and they'll contact them, and they'll basically take care of everything else. And so that is essentially the whole business model.
Dude, that is awesome, man. I knew you were going to bring the fire. We got a question from Chili saying, what's the best way that sellers can stand out from others? Some people asking about taking the course and whatnot. How do I stand out from other people who take the course? How do you stand out from other sellers? Because let's just be real. There are people who sell on Amazon. They know what they're doing, and you're going to have to beat out the competition or be different. What are some thoughts on that?
Yeah, so a few things is like, one is really do a good job at your product selection. I feel like I'm a broken record here, but don't get there and sort of think that you know what product is going to sell well. Just completely erase that from your mind. Pick a good product. So that's going to lower the number of competitors you have. So that helps somewhat in that factor. The other thing is, like I said, is look at the reviews of products that are already selling well, good and bad, and find out what people like and don't like. And in any way possible, address that in your product listing or with your actual product. And so if you find people think your product is too small or too hard or too soft or whatever, they want a green one, try to address that. So then you have a product that's better for people. And then also kind of call out those differences. Don't be afraid to call them out. So for example, I'll just give you a product that I've sold before. I was selling gymnastics rings. And so I found out that, like, if you just go source them on Amazon or source them offside of Amazon or all the ones sold on Amazon, probably 19 out of 20 are, in my opinion, like pretty dangerous. Like they're made of buckles that are easy to slip out of. And like you got somebody hanging upside down on those things, like that's not a good situation. And so like we went and we did all the work and we sourced really good high quality ones that are on par with, like, if anybody knows CrossFit stuff, like Rogue is the kind of like leading brand in CrossFit stuff. They sell theirs for like $70, and like they're cheaper on Amazon if you buy a different brand, but most of them are complete crap. And so like went out and did all that work. We made sure to call that stuff out in our listings. We're like, we even had pictures that did like comparisons of their little dinky sort of unsafe buckles versus our bigger high quality ones. So when it comes down to it, like feel free to call that stuff out. Call out why yours are better. Images are super important because you can do it with text and you can also do it with images. And so that's another way is to kind of make your product a lot better in that respect. And so at the end of the day, like we try to get people to really nail down. I mean, the first thing is your product quality. That's kind of your foundation. The next thing is how well you kind of dress up your listing, meaning really good images, really good text, really good description, all that sort of stuff. And then you want that stuff in place before you start sending traffic, because it's easy to turn on ads. Trust me, any of these ad platforms, Amazon, Facebook, Google, they'll more than happy to take your money. But it doesn't mean that's actually going to be a good use of spend until you have a product that people would actually want to buy. And so focusing on what customer want, picking a good product, making sure your listing looks really good. Those are all ways to stand out. And you can differentiate yourself like with the text itself. You can say, like, a common kind of trick that like we've had a lot of people use, we've used it ourselves in the past, is literally use one of the bullets that says like, unlike competitors or unlike the other options, our product does X. And so then anytime somebody sees that, like they're like, like I see they say this, but I don't know if these other products say this. So what the heck, I'll buy their product for the extra $5, or maybe it has less reviews. They'll take that risk because they don't want to take the risk that the other product is bad.
Awesome. Last question, because I know we're running out of time right here, and it's from my good friend Chris Lynn over at 10K on the Bay, and he's got an awesome YouTube channel. He's asking, who's the, or what's the ideal client that ASM serves? So for the people who join the Amazing Selling Machine, who's the ideal client? Who's the perfect person you want to join? And who's maybe the person that you really don't want to join and have them save their money?
Yes, I mean, like the kind of person that like I love helping with this thing are the people that are just incredibly motivated. I mean, we've said this before, like this isn't like a get rich quick kind of thing. Like it's a business. Like in any business that becomes successful, and it's sometimes, unfortunately, the more successful it is, the harder it can be because you've got more exposure, you're a bigger target and all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, like you're going to run into problems. No matter how good of a job we do, or if you go do this on your own, no matter how good of a job you do, you're going to have issues. And it's really frustrating for us when people quit when they have their first kind of issue. Like they could be just around the corner, or they could be facing a common issue that thousands of people have faced. You just got to push through it. Because everybody we know that's been super successful, that has built multi-million-dollar businesses, have life-changing financial windfalls, or just making a heck of a lot of money with their business every month, they've all had problems. Like they've all had issues. They've all had roadblocks they've run into. They've had suppliers that didn't get their product on time. They've had a product that's gotten messed up. They've had competitors bash them with negative reviews. They've had things they've tried out that didn't work. They've had products that they've added under their brand that didn't sell very well. Like they've all had this stuff. But at the end of the day, like what really matters is that you keep going. And so we want people that'll start, that are highly motivated, and most important, will keep going when things get tough. Like we don't want people in here that are just going to be like, oh, you know, this isn't super easy. Like I'm not making 20 grand a month in profit now. There's too many competitors. Like I'm out. Like I want to quit. Like it's not worth our time. And at the end of the day, it's no way to kind of like run through life, in our opinion.
Awesome, man. I appreciate all your information and all your advice. I want to thank you for coming on, man. I knew you were going to drop a bunch of gold nuggets. So definitely really, really exciting. For the people who just came in halfway or at the end, the replay is going to be up. Go back and watch it. I also want to let you folks know, I forgot to mention, I'm going to be giving away a $50 Amazon gift card. And what I need you to do is, number one, go in the description, get the free videos. All you got to do is put in your email. Number two, I need you to hit the like button. And number three, this is the big thing. I need you to go into the comments after the video is over, when the comments open back up, and say, I want ASM. I want ASM. That stands for Amazing Selling Machine. I'm going to pick a winner within the next 24 hours. So you got to follow all 3 tips. and I'll reach out to you and someone's going to get hooked up with that gift card. But yeah, appreciate everybody watching. Thanks again, Matt, for coming on. Get the free videos down below. Any final words of wisdom, man?
No, I mean, no matter what you do, like go out there and like do something, like sit there. Like the only way like you're going to be successful in any of this sort of stuff is if you just get started and keep going, like really no matter what happens, whether you do it on your own or with us is up to you. But either way, you know, there's so many opportunities out there right now. Like don't worry about competition is not a big factor as fast as, I mean, we're kind of living in a crazy time right now with the internet. It's just that some of these platforms, like whether it's Facebook or Amazon or whatever else, has grown so much fast growth that there's no reason why you shouldn't get started now. Like the biggest mistake is going to be a year from now, you wishing you would have got started a year earlier. So whatever you do, go out there, do something now, and keep going no matter what happens.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for watching. Hit that like button, get the free videos down below, and we'll see you guys soon. Appreciate it, Matt.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.